Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
It's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned in to Nerd Initiative YouTube for another edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. What is going on, everyone? My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast, but I'm also Nerd Initiative editor-in-chief. To my left, you're right at home. It's in his contract. He has to do his own intro.
Coming at you live and direct, straight from a folding chair in the ODPH studios. My name is Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur, Ken, and only Ken. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Our partners in crime, Matt and Lauren from Hopskeeks News, are currently traveling overseas and having a wonderful time. So they are going to be away from the show for a couple weeks, but fear not, we're still bringing you a lot of content and a story that we have been asked to cover for many, many years now. Obviously on the ODPH and obviously with Nerd Initiative taking off on streaming, we've been asked to cover this. So I'd say months here, but it's been years on the ODPH.
It's about time.
It's about time, but we've been waiting for the right moment to do this.
Speaking of about time, remember that one time that Kyle was following me and Pat, and then he finally decided to follow you?
Yeah. Well, that was actually another story, but that was actually Mr. Ryan Parrott.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh.
So where we're going with all of this is we are going to be deep diving into the start of what is comics' most exciting line, and that is the Massiveverse. So if you're not familiar with it, this month alone, they have 3 big books coming out.
3.
As you see on the screen, Supermassive 2024, The Conclusion of No One.
Who is No One?
And Across the Massiveverse, trade paperback volume 1. So if you are wondering about all the hype going around this universe, it really starts with one hero that at the time, I don't think anybody thought would spawn into this gigantic crossover universe with so many other characters that are standing out and really revolutionizing what we think about as the current modern superheroes.
Oh, for sure.
And that is Radiant Black. So for tonight's episode, we are going to be talking about Radiant Black #1 from Black Market Narrative and Image Comics. But first, we have some business to get out of the way first. So that is, obviously, if you're turning to Nerd Initiative, we do appreciate it. But make sure you swing by the home of pop culture positivity, nerdinitiative.com, where you can check out everything going on from the world of movies, TV, comics, pro wrestling, and so much more. The fandoms are growing daily. So if we are not covering what is your fandom, trust us, we have a lot of time to go and a lot more projects on the way. So you don't know what's going to be popping up on that website.
No clue.
Also, if you're watching on any other platform other than YouTube, we do appreciate it, but we are really telling you to make sure you're subscribed to Nerd Initiative on YouTube.
Yes. Because
there's exclusive content on the way for it. And it all starts with just dropping that subscribe, hit that bell notification for reminders of when the stuff is going live, and tap that thumbs up to let our boss Michael know that you like the content that you're seeing here on Nerd Initiative.
I like the content.
Well, I think a lot of people do because the downloads have been up, the views have been up. It's just been a wonderful movement over the past few months at the home of pop culture positivity.
Indeed.
And we're just going to keep that momentum going because obviously next week is San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, my God.
And there's a lot of news that are going to be coming out about that.
We're doing a special edition, I believe, next Tuesday, correct?
We are going to be talking about that. So you got to make sure you're subscribed to all Nerd Initiative social media to find out what's going on there. But one of the big events there is going to be the Massiveverse panel. And like I say, it's a perfect time to dive into Radiant Black.
Yes.
So as we do each and every episode, if you're new to the show, we give you a spoiler-free statement. Then we go deep diving into the book that we're going to be talking about, or we have creators on there. So chat, super chat, definitely make your voice heard. Let us know what you think about this book. Tag along because there's a lot to go over with this. So, Tom, that being said, give me your spoiler-free statement on Radiant Black #1.
Seen. I feel seen in this book. I really, really do. I think that, knowing where Kyle, having interviewed Kyle in the past and seeing where the story's at, he is writing for people of our generation, I think. That it is unbelievably relatable, minus the whole super suit thing, but the dynamics of the characters from book one. You get it, you understand it, and you're hooked.
Absolutely. I think that's something that really resonated to me as somebody that's read a lot of superhero comics throughout the years. And to see a modern take on it in this day and age, it is very tough to do.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we live in the age of the anti-hero. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but it's true. You think about what's the biggest movie of the summer going to be?
Deadpool
And Wolverine.
Yep.
Both are not typical superheroes.
And let's be honest,
or heroes in general. Let's be honest about that.
You're absolutely right. The whole idea of the anti-hero has been since the early 2000s. I think it's hitting the relevance. So it's nice to just finally get away from it and just have something. Yeah.
And we've also had like some incarnations that really resonated with fans. Invincible comes to mind.
Yep.
But this was the first time, at least in my opinion, that we really saw somebody that was grounded in the current state of the world. That we have somebody that is dealing with financial problems. That is not exactly your typical superhero, but when powers come his way, he adapts to the situation. And where his life goes from here is quite the journey. And if you haven't checked this series out, it gets a lot of high praise for good reason.
Yes.
And it's a testament to the whole team over at Black Market Narrative, because when this book came out, it spawned into Supermassive, which has spawned into such amazing series as Rogue Sun, The Dead Lucky, Inferno Go Red. You can see the picture behind us. That is the universe that is created, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's been something that's connected with so many fans on so many levels, because it really is a reflection of this day and age. We don't exactly have anti-heroes. We don't have typical superheroes. We have people with powers.
That's it.
And let them dictate their own paths. And each book in the Massiverse definitely does it, but it really just starts with Radiant Black. So let us get into the story. So chat, super chat, let's talk about it. And as we go into the opening scene with the cover, it starts off, I would say, with a very bold statement. Would you not, Tom?
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah. We see, obviously, somebody's bank account.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of difference going on there.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe that, Tom?
Wah, 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 wah.
Yep. Somebody is in big time debt. In big time debt. And as we see, it is one Nathan Burnett.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go to the next page, we see that he is, well, trying to get a bank loan and obviously do what he can to survive. And it's not exactly working out in his favor.
No.
And as much as he's being very kind and very blunt about, how he needs the money, and even like a little bit could help, it's not working in his favor.
No, and he's in LA too, one of the most expensive cities in the country to live in.
Oh yeah. So it's not one that you can just, get by on bare ends. This is one that obviously every little dollar helps.
Seriously, like the ODPH studio, honestly, in LA right now would probably be about $3,333.33 a month.
Mm-hmm. So as we see, Nathan is struggling to deal with what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, this is obviously something that doesn't exactly happen to everybody. But when he has to come to that realization, being in that much debt, I mean, it is a very familiar problem too. I say that much debt, it just adds up. So he has to make a choice that he doesn't want to make. He winds up going back home to Lockport.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to Illinois, as we go to the next page, we see that his family is very open to seeing him, and especially a good friend of his that Radiant Black fans know all too well, and that is Marshall, his best friend.
Yep.
And how would you describe Marshall the first time you see him here?
There's a lot of words I use: exuberant, excited, little prickish. I mean, I'll be honest, I put on those airs when I go back home to Philly. Like, hey, what's going on? What I miss? What's up? All right, cool. I'm out.
Yeah. So we see, I mean, Marshall is that kind of, I guess, charismatic individual, if you will.
Yes,
That's probably the nicest way to do it. Because, I mean, he's very genuine at heart, just sometimes a little over the top in his personality. Yes, is very.
It's not on camera, but I'm literally pointing at myself right now.
But as we see, Nathan is coming to terms. He's moved back home. He's talking with his parents. And he's really just trying to find himself, which at this point is very relatable to the audience. That, when you go for your dream and it doesn't work, what happens? Like, where do you go from here? And back to
Illinois.
And the safest place is to go back home. So when you see him go back home, it is, you know, obviously a tough pill to swallow, but it's one he has to deal with. And Marshall is like, you know what? Tell me about all your cool stuff being a writer. Let's go out for the night and find out. And then as we go to the next page, obviously 38,000 comes right out of his mouth, and Marshall is trying to process what the heck Nathan's been doing. And it's a moment that, I mean, it truly defines the real world problems that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, it's a situation that, you know, if you're in, you understand, and if you're outside looking in, you can relate to. So it's one of those very connectable moments to the audience.
Okay, now for you, or let's ask, where were you? Were you understanding or relating?
A little of both.
Okay,
to be honest with you, a little of both.
I got 100% relate. So
yeah, no, it was one of those situations when you take a shot and it doesn't work, you have to pivot and regroup and figure out what you want to do. And there's only so much you can, you know, decide you want to do.
Pivot.
Yeah. But that's a situation you have to. I mean, you're going to sit there and get fake pity. It's just, there's a time to wallow in it, and there's a time to get up and get going.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Marshall is trying to, you know, get the true understanding of what's going on. And obviously Nathan is just kind of like, listen, I get it. But you hear Marshall's just throwing a million and one ideas. And you really see their friendship start forming here, because this is just a bond that is everyday relatable.
Yep.
And it's one that really stood out to me. And I'm sitting there going, like, I've had this conversation many a times with people. And you just see when Marshall kind of gives him that tough love. He's like, I'm sorry, but, you know, which one of us just moved back home because you're a failed writer? Like, you know, what are you going to do? Quit wallowing? So you have that kind of like connection piece. And it's something that I thought just really made this RA start standing out, because you know that there's superpowers on the way, but you do get that early bond form between these two. You know that there's something special here.
Yeah, and it's smart just to write it that way, because why in an issue one just automatically go, okay, hi, I showed up, powers. That just doesn't make sense. You want to build the characters up, so when the powers happen, now you have that, oh, wait a minute moment. There's something to be said about a book that doesn't just rush the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done. Now, don't get me wrong. It's just a few pages, a few panels, but it's done well enough that you get it.
Yeah. And once you can start putting that together, it adds up to so much.
Mm-hmm.
So then, as obviously we go to the next page and they leave the bar. And this is, you know, obviously having a little too much wine and spirits, but, you know, it's a moment that happens. We do see that there's an object flying towards them. And as you're watching this unfold, Tom, what is going through your head?
Okay, now I'm going to argue the fact. Is it flying towards them? There's no lines of it. I think it's actually being stationary, because as you know, they said, it's not moving. There's no, is it a projection? It's levitating. It has the same focal point from every angle. So I think it's actually a singularity in one particular spot, not necessarily flying towards them. They just happen to notice and walk it up to it. So that's just my interjection. I'm like, the one thing I absolutely love about this, if you're looking at it here on the screen, the best part is the fact that the difference in color that you have there, because everything is that, you know, red snowy night. So there's that warmth that you get from street lights. And then you have the singularity, boom, right there in the center in that bright, bold blue. It really just makes it stick out. And it's just kudos right there on that alone.
Oh, big time.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, we see this, it just really kind of connects, like, okay, now we have this big moment going on. Now we have something really playing in. And we do see that Nathan is the one that's willing to take the chance with it. And I think it kind of relates to what he's at right now, because he has no idea what it is. He's trying to figure it out. Marshall's a little more hesitant about it. He's really kind of puzzled, like, you know, maybe like, let's check it, but it's kind of weird. Like, what is it? And Nathan just reaches out and grabs it.
It's not like he's got anything to lose at the same time.
Well, that's the whole thing. This kind of shows, I don't want to say his desperation, but he's just really sitting there like, what's the harm that could happen here? And it's a bold move. It really is. But it's one that you do see obviously take a life-altering moment as we go to the next page, because this whole piece right here, like, just fantastic art by MARCELO COSTA.
I'm just going to sit here and look at this again because it's just so damn pretty.
Yeah. It's one that just really just resonates to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see how the power radiant is now taking over him.
And what's nice is because it's a lightning effect. And how often do we see lightning effects that are always just jagged strips? Even in the third panel right there, it's curvy. It's got some flow. And then the fourth panel, there looks like there's some sort of text in there. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but just as a whole, it's great. And if you want to take the time to look at each panel, awesome, good for you. Just what a wonderful time you live in.
Oh yeah. No, it's amazing to see. And like I say, when you start seeing the power take hold, that's where everything really elevates up.
Mhm.
And we do see how it's just, almost going, I don't want to say symbiotic around him, but you just see that bond happen. And
It's like he's morphing.
well, a little bit, obviously, but there is that kind of play. And then as we go to the next page, we do see the full costume of Radiant Black at the time.
It's like Power Rangers meet Daft Punk.
Mm-hmm. But it's one that stands out. I mean, seeing this image come to life. I mean, Tom, what's going through your head?
Why haven't I read this sooner?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so freaking cool. I mean, knowing the fact that Kyle and Ryan and Missy and everybody else involved in the massacre comes from my franchise. Yeah, it's just seeing it on the screen. And the best part is they're playing by their own rules, and that's what's so enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay, I like this. I want more.
Yeah, and like I say, seeing that kind of play out, it does have that Power Rangers feel to it to a degree. But as we start seeing Marshall's reaction to it, he's like, do you feel different? Like, what's going on? Because his perspective is like, I have no idea what just happened. Have I had a little too much to drink tonight? Like, what is causing all of this to play out?
Does that mean I can go out in New York for Comic-Con and like get loaded and hopefully get a super suit?
No, absolutely not.
And go, Ken, have you seen my super suit?
No, the phone will be disconnected then. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah. But as we see this all take place, we do see that obviously Marshall is trying to check in on him and has like a little fun play where he knocks on Nathan's helmet now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you should not do that to a helmet. And you see that obviously getting bonded with the radiant power is not exactly, dare we say, easy on the stomach.
Especially with a higher blood alcohol level.
Yes. So Nathan, unfortunately, has to alleviate some of the fluids.
But how does he do that when the helmet doesn't have a mouth?
It senses it. Like there's almost something symbiotic about this.
Agreed.
So when you see this take place, like I say, it's a fun moment to a degree, but it's one that you sit back and just go like, okay, we're just going to kind of suspend this because this is a moment that obviously when your body is overwhelmed with that much power, like what are you going to do? It goes into, a shock,
fight or flight.
Mm-hmm. So when you see this all take place, like I say, it's a moment that, readers can understand what's going on to a degree. And then the local authorities show up.
Yep.
And they're kind of like trying to figure out what's going on because there's somebody running around crazy on private property in a costume. And Marshall, obviously being a little full of muscle
liquid
and spirits,
courage.
Yeah, decides to start arguing back. And the officers are telling him there's a train coming. And you see that Nathan has to make a play here. And this moment on this page really sets the tone here. And I love this artwork right here.
Look at that.
That you don't know what's happening, but super chat, when you're seeing this for the first time, what is your reaction to this? Because like for me, I was sitting there like, okay, I'm not sure what's happening, but we're going to find out together. And this is a big moment because let alone he lifts an entire train up by himself, but the cop car, the two officers, and Marshall is just standing there watching in awe. Because what else can you do? And that's almost a reflection of the reader as they're watching this take place. Like, what is happening here?
We don't know what the power set is. So to see something like this played out in this huge panel is just, okay. I don't understand what's going on here, but I like it. And what's next? Because even, you look at the helmet and you even see, I love the fact that with the helmet that you still get the emotes out of it,
Mm-hmm.
Very Spider-Man or Deadpool-esque with the eyes, how they work. So even the look is on there. It's all just, okay.
Yeah. And it's one that just, it stands out and works. So when you see this all just go and take place, like I say, you're just kind of in awe of what's happening, but it makes sense to where things are because they're finding out along the way as you are too. So when he has to make the save and you have to see Marshall react and then the next page, he's like, what did you do? And Nathan's like, I don't know. And they kind of have to make a little plea here because Marshall is still fighting with the officer, which you should never do. And he's basically saying, are you going to arrest us? And we're like, we just saved your life, so we promise to let you down. Like, we're going to go home. I'm going to go home. It's going to be good.
That's extortion.
Yeah. And the one officer just says, okay. He's like, listen, I'm not built for this. I'm not about this superhero life or whatever is going on here. Yeah, they're good. Like, let's just go, call it a day. We're out of here.
Like what cop in, that's trained in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, has superhero training? I don't think that's in their standard manual.
Yeah. So as we see this great superhero iconic shot of Radiant Black flying away with Marshall looking down, just kind of like smirking about what's happening, just kind of realizing like this is almost like a reflection of all of us as fans. Like, when you be around superpowers, like what would you do? And he's just kind of sitting there, just kind of like gleeful awe.
Oh yeah, that's all you can do. It's like watching Ken when he goes on and on and on about one of his favorite comic books. You just got to sit there and go,
I know. Hey, I would say the same thing about you and Power Rangers, but at least I don't bring toys.
They're collectibles.
Tomato, tomato, my friend. But
ketchup.
As we digress, you do see the iconic shot, and just everybody kind of goes and plays it out further. And you do see the back and forth, and they're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan is still processing everything is happening.
And how Midwest small town is it that they land on top of a silo?
Oh, it's perfect.
Like you can't land. A water tower would make sense, a silo makes sense, a barn would make sense, but you couldn't like land on the garage. High school maybe, it's like, hey, remember those days? But no, this is so beautifully done. And also tonally speaking, now that he's gotten the power radiant, and how when they were out drinking and being buddy all at the same time, it was very red background. Now we've got into these nice deep blues, just kind of pulling everything in and together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I say, I love how they switched with the color scheme about this. I really thought they made it stand out and really kind of gave the ship tone.
Mm-hmm.
That it was almost kind of mood reflecting on Nathan, because he's still sitting there just trying to piece everything together.
Yep.
And Marshall is just sitting there freaking out. I mean, as anybody would. And just Nathan is sitting there trying to get the helmet off, and Marshall has to walk him through it. And it's saying, just breathe. Like, listen, you got to calm down, because otherwise you're going to explode. And then all of a sudden, you just see the helmet come off. And you see how they're working together and just like, what are we going to do? And really piecing everything together, because now both their lives have been changed. I mean, Marshall's has been changed because now he's around the superhero life. He has to keep the secret. He's in that sidekick role per se for now. And for Nathan, you went from being a failure in your eyes to now you are going to possibly turn it into something positive. And to kind of go through that different mindset, it's something that when you have the opportunity to improve yourself in some kind of manner, like, how are you going to handle it?
The one other big thing that I really liked is that this turned right on a dime, not to, okay, what am I going to do? It's what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That really spoke volumes of the fact that the character is not like, well, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do? No, it's we. What's the next steps we got to take together?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it shows the friendship right there.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, the bond that they have. Like they might, bust each other's chops, but at the end of the day, they're there for each other.
Exactly.
And that's the ultimate bond that you see of this friendship. And especially as the series progresses forward, that's the key element that takes place. And we do see, I mean, obviously they're sitting there trying to figure out what's happening. And you do see that, Nathan is still sitting there trying to piece it all together. And he basically unloads everything that's been going on. Like, Marshall, I lied. I didn't get that job in Hollywood. I haven't been a success. I've been a failure. The agent that was going to read the book that I was writing, well, he was looking for it 4 years ago, and I didn't do it. I wasted time. And just to see him pour his heart out, like you would think, like, you've got superpowers, like this is the greatest day of your life, and you just see just the emotions just pour out. And KYLE Higgins writing in this, just like I say, it connects with everybody on a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can realize, yeah, you're at the peak, but what's success if there's nothing around there that you feel about it?
Yep. It's literally the whole idea of the powers coming upon you. And yes, you realize the potential, but at the same time, it's literally just squeezing everything out of you to the here's all this on your shoulders now, and everything that's already in there is, you just got to get it out and got to get it loose and build from there. And that's where Kyle's writing just comes through so well that it is relatable to more people than you think.
Oh yeah. And like I say, this is when you're reading this unfold, it just connects with the reader. Like we always talk about, like, you want to really hit the points with the audience. The character of Nathan does that for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And that's why I think everybody really jumped on this. And you can kind of go through his emotions. Like, you have one shot, you're going to take it or let it slip. And you can't afford to miss because you've missed so much. Like, this could be the biggest moment in your life or the biggest failure. And where do you go from here? And this is where you have to really kind of pull it out yourself. But then you have Marshall just give him the pep talk he needs and says, I'm not going to let you slip. We're not going to slip. And just really be that friend that he needed that he didn't have in LA. And for their story, it ends. But then we go to the next panel and we do get an introduction of a certain character that's going to play a bigger role in the series as it goes on, robbing a bank. And that turns out to be Radiant Red.
That one.
Mm-hmm.
Where's he at? Somewhere.
Yeah.
Right here.
So, and that's where issue 1 ends. So there's a lot to process that goes on here. Chat, super chat. Let us know what you thought about this. Give us your grade 1 through 10. We'll kind of give you the head start about it today. But as we do on the show, we've talked about a lot of great things about this book. Tom, was there anything you didn't like about this issue?
I don't think there really was anything that I didn't like about this issue. I think it hit all the notes it needed to. Is it perfect by far? No, I think it's missing something. What it is, I don't know. But no, no. Period. No.
I couldn't really find too much fault with this, to be honest with you. Like, it's a very straightforward origin story.
Yep.
And that is something that I don't mind with first issues. Like, it doesn't need to be the most over-the-top detailed of powers and histories and such. I just need the bare basics that make me want to come back and see more.
Exactly.
And I think Higgins' writing hit that right on the head. Like, we got enough of the LA life. We go to Illinois. We get powers. Quick moment with them. Still trying to figure it out. On to the next mission. It moves a little fast. I guess if there's one thing maybe we could fault about it, but I don't think it's anything that's detrimental to the book.
You're right. Maybe a page of just him sitting around next morning with breakfast with mom and dad and just having the inner narration of shit. Of what's next. What am I doing? Hi, I just did this and now I'm a failure at home with superpowers. Like, that might be cool. But again, this is all just theoretical, just throwing it in. But you're right. It is a little fast.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes good writing just does that to you. It takes you from page 1 to page 22.
Yeah, I fully agree with you about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No, not at all.
Like I say, it moves very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, especially when you're trying to establish a new character, let alone a new superhero,
yes,
you have to do that. Because if you try making it too over the top, I think you lose the audience.
And if you take it too slow, you're definitely not going to have them to stick around.
Oh, exactly. And especially in this day and age, where you're trying to connect with the audience with a superhero, you really have to walk that fine line. And I think that what Higgins does with his book is he does this masterfully.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he really hits the points, gives you enough that it'll hook you as a reader to come back.
Yep.
Because when you get to that end issue, you're like, wait, what happens next with Nathan? I need to know. Who's this mysterious character? I want to find out more about it.
Why is there a guy in red?
Yeah. Like, that's why I want to find out. And that's where you kind of spin things off from there. So where it goes from here is like literally anybody's guess, but that's the beauty of doing a first issue. So,
and the beauty of doing something that's not in anything that we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get it right, and you got to get it so right that people are going to want to come back to it. And based in a world and a storyline that we have no clue what everything else is. You walk in, if Marvel started a new book tomorrow that is, oh, well, I'm making Johnny Superhero, and Johnny Superhero knows Spider-Man. Great, cool. Now I know the whole storyline that we could possibly go down here. That's what they don't do here with Radiant Black. They go on their own path and forge their own trail. And that is what's making this one of the best books out there right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for where the story literally goes from here, it is a journey of creativity. And I don't say that lightly. I say this with every time you pick up a Radiant Black book, you really are going to have an idea what's going to happen, but you really can't predict what's going to happen.
Nope.
And that's the beauty of it, because where you think the story is going to be very traditional superhero, it flips.
What a twist.
Yeah. And it flips into a lot of emotional ranges,
Mm-hmm.
and where things pick up from there. Like I say, it's a big moment in time. And where both Nathan and Marshall go, I mean, if you've read the series, you know how crazy things get for them. But there's always the underlying connection of their friendship.
Yep.
That will keep this glued together no matter what. And you see to the great lengths they go to for each other. So there's many bittersweet moments in this entire run that when you get to certain issues like number 9, like 18 to a degree, and 24, just even foreshadowing a bit. When you get to these moments and you start connecting with all these characters that you're going to meet along the way, it really hooks you as a reader that, yeah, sure, they have superpowers, whatever, but it's on that level that you can connect with them and you can kind of walk in their shoes, so to speak.
It's that foundation that Kyle's already put in there, that it doesn't matter where they're at, you still know who they are and have an idea of where their mindset is.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it carries through to the biggest event they've done in this universe, and that's the Catalyst War going on right now.
Yes.
Which, if you haven't been reading, you really want to catch up now before the final 2 issues come out concerning it. Because when they talk game changers, they don't underdeliver. They really mean game changers. And for what the series does, like I say, they rarely miss. I can't even think of anything that they've missed on.
Has there ever been a low point in Radiant Black or the Massiverse?
No, I don't think so. I think that they've done a lot of story building that some people might consider low points or filler.
No.
But I never think that.
No,
I think that everything is so key and so intricate about what they do here. That's why it gravitates. And that's why I always say it's comics' most exciting line, without question. So that being said, I mean, obviously we can't really find too much fault with it. We're just going to keep giving it more praise. So chat, super chat, is that time. Let's throw those grades in. I see Tyler Mack is throwing an A+. I love it. I love seeing that. So Tom, give me your grade about Radiant Black #1 from Black Market Narrative and Image Comics.
I love Kyle. He's a great writer. He's written some of my favorite stories. Being that this is an origin story, and again, I can't find any fault, but at the same time, it's not like the awe-inspiring book. It is a solid, and I mean said with love, 9 out of 10.
All right. I have to agree with you that this is...
Can we get that written down for posterity?
Yeah, we're going to have to. It doesn't happen often, folks. No, but I have to agree with you. I mean, this book really hits the key points.
Yep.
And for delivering a new superhero on this level where you connect with them and their problems and their daily life and what they go through, because there's a lot of things that you as the reader can lock in place and really have that moment where you're like, I go through that, or I know somebody that's going through that. And you can kind of have that connection. I think it's just very telling, because it, to a far lesser degree, this is how Peter Parker rose to fame. But this is now in this generation. And you see how Nathan Burnett really kicks that door open. And what spirals out of that is a journey that is never ordinary, to say the least.
It's radiant.
It's truly phenomenal. And it's one that whenever you think you know what's going to happen, they throw something in the mix and it changes everything. And it's something that this line has done since, like I say, this is day one. But to see what they've done in books like The Dead Lucky, books like Rogue Sun, Inferno Go Red.
Yes.
When you've seen what they put together and how they throw things in there that you don't see in conventional superhero books, it really makes this line stand out. And I think that this was the pace car for it. I think that what they did in Radiant Black is near perfect, because it's more about the connection of the friendship. And that is the foundation for everything that happens once these powers happen and once they leave, because there's a lot of story to be had here. So I have to go, this is a solid 9. With Costa's artwork is just mind-blowing here too, especially that splash page with the train in air. like I say, that's the definitive moment for me that is like, okay, this is our new superhero that's happening, along with that symbiotic moment.
Yeah, I was gonna
where
say
everything bonds.
it's a toss up
Yeah.
between the transformation sequence or morphing sequence versus the train. There, it's depending on the day.
Yeah, and I see Tyler in the chat too saying beyond the writing, the art, and design of Radiant Black instantly stands out as iconic. I agree with
Oh
it.
yeah,
Like I say, when you see that costume show up, you instantly know who it is. You instantly know it's Massiverse. And just like I say, there's so much reaction to it, and you know what to expect, and it just stands out from everything else at the shelves.
yep.
And to do this and to be able with that consistency, it's amazing to see. And now going into, as you said, the start in 2021 to now 2024, they keep growing. The quality just never stops.
It gets super massive.
It does indeed. Because like we say, in July here, they have a lot of big books coming out.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, especially this one.
Yeah, that one.
Which, I mean, Supermassive 2024 is out next week. And we have the graphic up on screen too of what's coming out from this universe as well. Supermassive 2024 is coming out, and that's the team up book that everybody gets together. And they've thrown in some surprises if you picked up those books over the years. And I'm not expecting them to fault on this one too. I have not got a chance to fully read that issue yet. I'm kind of waiting to, because I really wanted to see what everybody else is going to be saying about this next week at the comic shops. No One, the phenomenal murder mystery that's been going on in the Massiverse with Brian Buccellato, who we know, who's come on the show.
Good friend.
Geraldo Borges. I mean, what can you say about him? Cheersy.
What can't you say about it?
Oh, I will sing his praises every day. And they're wrapping up that series. And that's just something to kind of go into what makes this line stand out. I fully think the team over Black Market Narrative has the pulse of the audience more mastered than anybody right now.
And I think that that's because we have people in this industry right now of like Kyle, like Ryan and Misty, that are not your, and I'm not saying anything against them. They're not your Jim Lees. They're not your, your Dan. Why is I always
Dan Mora?
Well, no. We speak nothing bad about.
I was going to say absolutely.
I'm thinking the old guard, like the old '90s. The big names from the '90s comics.
Oh, Dan Jurgens.
Dan did that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Anyway, but they're not from the old guard, and they understand where they need to not only black market narrative, but market this as well. They are going across all of media, and they're doing it so well. You've got the Discord you mentioned. You've got everything else going on, and then you also get the special books, right? I mean, Kyle loves his Blacklight.
Oh, it's true, but just to even see what they do, I mean, from their Discord initiative to throwing QR codes, and I mean, they did it before Nerd Initiative. Let's be honest about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, then you think about Missy over in Dead Lucky with everything going on in there. Like, there's things you look at the background. There's recipes. There's this, that, and the other thing. Everything is in there because they just want to encompass all of not just pop, but culture in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that they do. I mean, even think with No One, they have a companion podcast with Patton Oswalt and Rachel Lee Cook. And it's a companion piece to the story. So you get this full multimedia presentation. And like I say, they have the pulse of the audience down pat, that you really know that they're connecting with the readers and they're on the same wavelength and they know what they're wanting to see and they're delivering every time out. So to see them do this is just, like I say, to go to a panel with them. They've got a lot of things lined up. San Diego Comic-Con next week is going to have a ton of Massiverse news.
Cannot wait.
And where we spiral from there, I mean, obviously the books that we've showed up on screen are going to be coming out. And Radiant Black 30 and 30.5 will be dropping shortly thereafter.
Now, can you please explain to everybody who might not be familiar how and why is it that we get books as in 29 and 29.5? What is the significance of the 0.5 books?
I don't want to spoil it if anybody hasn't read it, but let's just say this. They did an initiative over at Radiant Black that harkened back to the infamous Jason Todd phone number days. And with such a risk about the character involved, they decided to take it into an ingenious route and split said character off into 2 separate adventures. And this is the Catalyst War going on. And like I say, I'm trying to do this without spoiling anything because I fully think that everybody needs to go to the comic shops and go get these issues.
So parallel storylines, pretty much.
Yeah, to a degree.
There you go. That's the easiest way to put it out there.
Yes, I'm trying to do this spoiler free best I can because I will spoil a lot and I don't want to do that. I'm really trying not to. But like I say, this is something that they do better than anybody. And to see what they're doing, like I say, to split the lead character of a book up and with 2 different stories going on.
Yeah.
And how it's all formulating together. Like, this is going to be a trade paperback to pick up, but I'm going to tell you, don't wait to do it. Go get the issues. It's well worth the investment, to say the least. And I mean, obviously, if we're talking New Comic Book Day, we do have something going on there, but we also have a big announcement.
Huge.
After we give our picks for the week coming up, because as you see the QR code on the screen, it is New Comic Book Day tomorrow at the shops. So, Tom, what are you recommending to the audience?
Well, from my buddies over at the Nacelle company, Brian Volkweiss and everybody, they've been acquiring IPs like nobody's business, and some very interesting and obscure ones, and everybody knows ones like Biker Mice from Mars. Do you remember them from '96, and then the other TV series, the reboot that they did in 2006? Well, we're getting Biker Mice from Mars, and did you know they're coming back again? Also being co-produced by Ryan freaking Reynolds.
No.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is on it. We talked about that. Oh yeah, you weren't in the booth for that. Sorry. Love you. But yeah, Biker Mice from Mars #1 is being written by our friend from the Massive Verse. Misty Flores is going to be doing this. It is a fantastic origin story. Now, you think you know everything from like the first 3 episodes from '96. Trust me, this is even before that. Like, this is technically it's an issue 1, but it's story 0. And I can't say how much I enjoyed reading this book.
Oh
yeah. So you'll just have to, tune back in to Nerd Initiative tomorrow when we're releasing how many books tomorrow?
A lot.
I
don't know the final count. I know Marty's stoked. Shout out to Marty, is working on that right now. So we have a loaded lineup tomorrow too. In fact, our guy in the chair has his first review coming up for Nerd Initiative.
Does he?
Yes, he does.
Lucha?
No, it's not. Luchaverse is coming out tomorrow too, but he has a horror comic that he's doing.
Right up his line.
Yep. So if you want to make sure to do that, obviously we'll have that in the lineup tomorrow as well. My pick though,
Power Rangers.
No, it's not Power Rangers. Surprisingly, because they have a big issue coming out very, very shortly. If anybody's familiar with Netflix, there's a certain show that's going to be coming back very soon that's going to be on its final season.
Yeah, it was raining out here today. I think I remembered my umbrella.
The Umbrella Academy. Well, Gerard Way is back with a brand new series.
Really?
Yep. So Paranoid Gardens #1 is coming out from Dark Horse Comics tomorrow. So this is one, it's a very, very unique read. But I will tell you, I'm waiting to see fans' reactions for this. I really got a good feeling about this one. It's something that is, when I was reading it, I was like, wow.
Well, knowing his style from what we know from Umbrella Academy, and I'm meaning
Doom
Patrol and everything, does this feel? I mean, it can feel like one of his books, but this is a new take on something that he hasn't done yet.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to kick that off. I mean, I got the review coming along with the rest of the bullpen tomorrow morning, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on nerdinitiative.com. So you want to make sure you click on that QR code and put your RSS feeds on, refresh. Don't miss out about the best of the best coming out at the comic book shops this week. Already kicked off this week with our guy, Comic Concierge, dropping the top 10 most anticipated one. A lot of buzz going around in that, and most of those books are featured on Nerd Initiative New Comic Book Day.
How about that?
Right. But before we get out of here, we do have a special announcement we've been talking about.
Yes.
So I think that since in honor of the Massiverse and everything going on, one of the books we mentioned was this one, Across the Massiverse, Volume 1, the trade paperback. So we are such big supporters of this universe.
Like nobody's business.
Seriously, I don't think anybody is, representing the Massiverse quite like Nerd Initiative. But we are doing a giveaway.
A big giveaway.
Yes. So tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative Instagram, Go and follow Nerd Initiative Instagram.
We have an Instagram?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we got to get people on over there.
And under this post, because you'll see this come up on the page, tag 2 or more accounts and let us know who your favorite Massiverse character is. 4 winners in honor of the Pillars of the Massiverse will win 1 copy of Across the Massiverse Volume 1 trade paperback. The winners will be announced on next week's show. So the contest will end on Monday night when TV Talk kicks on.
Yay, that's my show.
So you have a week now to get your votes in, get your friends in, follow the page. Everybody's got to be following on Instagram. And then we will announce the winners live on the show next week.
IG is the place to be.
Yep. So you see that QR code up. You're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout the week. So if you want to get into the Massiverse, and like I said, Across the Massiverse is literally the first issues of the Pillars. So it's a perfect entry point into comics' most exciting line. So you definitely want to get on board, and no better way than getting a free trade paperback. You can't do anything better than getting free comics from the home of pop culture positivity. Right here. So that being said, Tom, let everybody know what's going on with you and TV Talk.
TV Talk right now, we're covering The Bear. Now, I wasn't available last night because there was some technical difficulties because of some thunderstorms and whatnot. But we're covering The Bear, so everything's been pushed back 1 week. Next week, we're going to be doing episodes 5 and 6. I can see why episode 6 had such an emotional pull for everybody. You know, just like we were talking about here with Nathan and Marshall in Radiant Black. There's so many relatable things in episode 6 that honestly, it is a heart-wrenching and heartwarming story, and I cannot wait to talk to you all through that. And then after that, you know, again, we're doing 2 episodes a week, and then once we're done with episode 10, I'm still looking for ideas, so make sure you're following us. Make sure you're following me right there on that little QR code for the TV Talk. Make sure you're following the Off the Cuff Tom one. Thank you very much, rich guy in the chair. He got that right as I was pointing. Good for you, man. I appreciate it. But make sure you're just following along. Let us know on the Twitter. Let us know everywhere. What's the next TV show you want me to start talking about? I got plenty of ones I can just throw up for whatever reason, but I want to know because you guys are just as important to this as, you know, anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I talked a lot.
No,
Sorry.
We're used to it, Tom.
Okay.
It's okay.
Hi.
So before we get into my stuff, obviously, we got to plug the guy in the chair. So if you want to hear an adult humored movie review podcast, 3FN Podcast, got great episodes up. Patreon is booming to $1 a month, and you get a lot of bonus content, more than a lot of content creators are giving you for that price. So it's well worth it to go get the picks of the team over there, because they're giving you their honest opinions about what movies you need to go watch and some that you don't need to go watch. They make it that simple for you. And then obviously Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wrestling Night Live.
Dropping it from the top rope.
The triple threat is back in effect this week. So shout out to Just Nick. He'll be joining us, and we'll be talking about everything going on in the land of AEW, WWE, GCW, TNA, and much, much more. So you definitely want to make sure you subscribe for that. As for yours truly, well, odphpodcast.com. It will take you to what is going on over there, reviews, new episodes dropping starting tomorrow. It's going to be a busy week, but it's what we're used to here at the home of the parlay of topics. And also, we can't stress enough, every Tuesday night, turn a page as you're clicking on here. No matter where you're watching from, you want to make sure you subscribe to Nerd Initiative on YouTube, because there's exclusive content that is coming here. It won't be aired on Twitch. It won't be aired on anywhere else. It's only here on YouTube. So you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed up for that so you don't miss a moment of the content.
Nope.
And then Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, new comic book day. Nobody does it like the Nerd Initiative Bullpen, the hardest working team in all of comic reviews. And we got a lot in store for this week. I don't know if we're going to set the record like we did last week with the amount of reviews, but I know we're in the high double digits for that, to say the least. I have to see the full bullpen lineup, because every time I think we're done, we got more coming in. So very excited to see about that. The feedback about it has been amazing. So we definitely keep that up. And obviously, nerdinitiative.com is the home of pop culture positivity. A lot of fandoms on the way, a lot of news on the way.
So much news.
And more things coming down that I can't talk about because it's embargoes. It's what happens. But if you want to find out about what's going on, nerdinitiative.com is the place to be in 2024 and beyond. And then last but certainly not least, the homework assignment that we give you each and every week. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for Nerd Initiative on YouTube. Tap that bell notification for the latest notifications, because obviously you want to make sure you're not missing a moment of the content. And tap that thumbs up to let our boss Michael know that you are enjoying what you're seeing on here and you want to see more of it in the future to come.
Even me.
Even you, Tom. So that being said, when you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hand, such as Radiant Black #1, and you see somebody struggling to find something, hand yours off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next week.
I'm out.